With Arsenal getting more recognition around European football for the brilliant expertise of Mikel Arteta and the team's performances, there's obviously going to be some wacky transfer rumours. And the next one is that Kylian Mbappé would happily join Arsenal and wants to have his Thierry Henry arc. As much as there is no concrete proof that this is the case, let's talk about why Kylian Mbappé would be an awful signing for Arsenal and probably would set the club back a few years. Let's get into it. Now straight away, I know what a lot of you are going to be saying. Kylian Mbappé is probably the best player in the world right now. Why would we never want a superstar like that on Arsenal? And that is definitely a case. He is definitely a brilliant player, and I personally think he is the best player in Europe. He is insane every single game. Not only is he probably the quickest player in football right now, his athleticism, his dribbling and his clinicalness is a world-class, elite level, even a beyond world-class. And I do think he would be able to recreate that in the Premier League fine because he's just that good. I don't think it's a league issue. Kylian Mbappé is a great player, but there's obviously attitude issues with him. I know it's mostly reported and we don't necessarily know what goes on behind the scenes, but the fact he's made his decision about to leave or to stay at PSG for 3.5 years now has been going on. Originally he wanted to leave, he threw his toys out of the pram and said that was enough, and then they made up and he signed a 2-year deal, and then after the 1 year he wanted to leave actually, but now he's not, he's leaving after the 2 years potentially. Now no matter what is the case, I think there's a potential argument that when Kylian Mbappé is a little bit of a diva, and it makes sense, he's a brilliant footballer, he probably regards himself as one of the best, and I respect that he is, but I don't think Arsenal need that right now. We need young players that are very willing to learn and take their time in the team. There's a lot of players in our team that simply don't get the game time they probably deserve. You're thinking about Trossard, you're thinking about Jorginho, they're very good players. They never argue, they always just accept it, and that's what we need in the squad on the outer side of it. Obviously Kylian Mbappé is probably going to play every game, but that means someone like Martinelli would not get as much game time, because I don't think playing Mbappé up front is the move. I think he would stay on the last defender and use his pace to get in behind, but often with Arsenal playing against low blocks, that wouldn't really be that effective, and using him up front would not help us progression and not help the ball midfield like we've been doing recently, which is one of the reasons we're so successful of connecting our midfield and attack. He'd be a very good long ball over, and I think that left side that would make the most sense because we still sort of want to do that with Martinelli now, and obviously Mbappé is brilliant one-on-one and would free up a lot of room for Saka, but I wouldn't want to ruin the progression of players that we could have. And when we could potentially sign someone like Neto, who's a project signing and can play on the right but also could play maybe on the left, I'd rather have someone like that who has shown his proven that he deserves the opportunity and probably wouldn't demand to play. And if he joined, the factual information is that he would have to be probably the highest paid player in the Premier League of all time, or at least up there, because if you get him on a free with his contract ending, that's going to cost even more wages than he's on. Not only would that break Arsenal's transfer wage structure, that would probably break the club financially for a few years time, meaning we can't sign anyone we really want to, and the project that we've been learning for years and looking at people for years to come would be completely ruined and over because we went spent all too much money on a left winger that we just simply didn't need. Arsenal are creating so much each game, and I think people look at that and think that we're not scoring enough to warrant the creative chances, but if you take out too much of the team, then simply you're not going to create as much anymore. And I don't think Mbappé would necessarily be a down point in that, but I don't want to ruin our whole structure to get him in. And I've heard that Arsenal, and I don't think Arsenal would be willing to break their structure for him, nor would Liverpool, because nowadays we live in a market where superstars are good, but a lot of players in football are very good, and it's more about structure and tactics and people working in the roles that you want them to, rather than people necessarily being insane footballers. We live in an industry where we've moved a lot into that American football market, where you're obviously going to get superstars that everyone loves, but a lot of the players really only work in certain setups and are better with certain other players around them. We've seen this with Manchester City, we've seen this with Arsenal, we've seen this with Liverpool. I mean, even people like Endo, who people credit a lot this season, and he is a traditional DM. He played for Stuttgart last season in the relegation zone of the Bundesliga, and now he's in the Premier League title race. That's all it is with football, that's what it means. And other than Declan Rice, Arsenal have not really signed any superstars in their team to make this project and make our team better, and a lot of people don't really understand the point of us getting a superstar in. I think it is very selfish of people to think that. Why do people always want superstars when we've been brilliant without him? Is Mikel Arteta that good of a manager, or is our team overall very good, progressing every year? And I think that is what it is. These players, we make superstars. We've always made superstars, Arsenal have. And every time we've spent big on players as it is, it hasn't really worked well other than Declan Rice. I mean, you look at people like Pepe. Aubameyang was good. We gave him a new contract. It ruined that. Ozil was good for a little bit. New contract ruined that. Lacazette was pretty mid. And Sanchez was very good. It's been very on and off. And I don't know if I would try to do that. I know Mbappe's a better player than all of them. But if he didn't play at the 40, 50 goal a season striker or winger, then it wouldn't be worth it because Arsenal would simply be losing so much other parts parts of the pitch. And I've seen a lot of criticism of Arsenal potentially going in for Mendy and Tony as our main summer signings. I don't really understand that. A few months ago everyone wanted these players to join, and now they're going to be upset if they do. In this whole project, Arsenal have signed players that they thought would make the team better, and they're not always superstars. That's why we got good deals in for like Trossard and Jorginho coming in. There was a good opportunity there to buy players that fit the system, and also people like Ramsdale, who originally started the system, or even Raya now. Raya is really important to our team, and yet when everyone signed him, it's not a superstar signing. It doesn't matter. It eventually develops into a good team, and I think we've been spoiled for choice getting these great signings with Timber and Rice recently, and obviously Saliba finally playing for the team. And I think people just expect us to make these key signings all the time. Mendy is a key player that would be brilliant for this team. It would give us so much more control, and he can do a lot of the gameplay that Jorginho can do. He can be a bit more deep lying, and he can do brilliant through balls. But because he's not the flashy player that everyone wants, the De Jongs, and because Tony isn't the Osimhen, people think they're worse. They're not. It's just the media making some people look better than others. I've watched all of them very much, and I think Osimhen would be a great player for Arsenal, but he's not a perfect player. There's definitely faults in this game, and Tony the same with him, but Tony at least is proven in the Premier League, and I think personally he's a much more smarter player when you watch him than Osimhen. If we get either of them, I would be happy, but I would trust the process and trust Arteta's decision, because they are yet to really get something wrong in the last few years. I think we owe it to them to not be criticism of what we buy, because at the end of the day everything is better than what we were buying before, and they have made so many ways to make this team better over the years. And it just seems like to me that people get their opinions, a couple of things, people say stuff on Twitter, and then that it goes by what they think. But I think we should just wait and see what happens. And I don't think any point Mbappe should be considered for Arsenal. It would break our wage structure. He's too expensive, and I don't think he offers us enough to be worth to break it. Arsenal are our own club, and we do not need to be looking at Erling Haaland for Manchester City and thinking we have to recreate that. We don't need to recreate that. We're our own team. We can do what we want, and we can sign our own players that are nothing like them and still be a very successful team. As much as Manchester City have created a brilliant blueprint in to be successful, not everyone's going to work when you copy what they do. And individually, Arteta is not the same tactician as Pep Guardiola and plays different systems, so we're going to have to work by that. But what I will say is the fact that Kylian Mbappé is reportedly interested in an Arsenal move is very good for the club. The fact that we can attract these top people, or at least there be a slight interest in coming, way better than what we had a few years ago. Of course, a lot of people have loved to Arsenal through Thierry Henry, especially in France, with how much French greats we've had in the past. But finally, we've got a good enough team and a good enough manager to prove to people that we really can be at the top of the game in Europe, and we deserve to be here. And I'm very happy with the team we've got, and hopefully this year we do buy the right signs, because that is what matters. They don't need to be superstars. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Kylian Mbappé should be signed, or do you think Arsenal should go with the plan they have? Mendy, Tony, maybe Neto, or whatever they're going to sign in the summer, or would you be disappointed to see some of these players join the club? Let me know in the comments. Use your voice. If you enjoyed this video, please go and watch my video yesterday where I talk about how David Wright is vital to Arsenal's team and has been brilliant recently. I appreciate your view as always, and thank you for watching.